Peace be with you, brothers and sisters. Welcome to today's explainer. When you really think about the way Jesus walked with his disciples, he didn't just hand them some rigid instruction manual and say, good luck. No, he shared meals with them, he washed their feet, and he built these incredibly deep, lasting relationships. Well, today, we're going to be diving into something that literally touches every single hour of our days. Have you ever felt just busy, exhausted, and completely discouraged? And not because you aren't working hard enough, but because something deep down just feels kind of off? The profound truth we're unpacking today is actually incredibly simple. Life is not just about solving problems, it is fundamentally about building relationships. And when we get the order of those two things backward, our lives become absolutely chaotic. But when we start reordering our priorities, well, that's when everything changes. So I want you to ask yourself this question right now. Really think about it. Are you waking up every single day viewing your life as just this endless series of problems that you have to solve? Or do you see it as a field of relationships meant to be cultivated? This one single foundational choice is going to determine the entire direction, the peace, and the ultimate outcome of your daily life. Because if we're only ever focused on fixing things, we completely miss the heart of why we're actually here in the first place. There's this simple yet incredibly profound spiritual reality operating behind our daily grind. When there is a strong relationship, nothing is ever truly a problem. But on the flip side, when there's no relationship, absolutely everything becomes a massive problem. Think about it. God's work in our lives isn't driven by forceful pressure or a bunch of rigid rules. It's completely driven by loving connection. So when our relationship with God and with the people around us is right, the everyday friction of life naturally decreases. Now, the problems don't magically disappear, but they are suddenly so much easier to resolve, simply because the foundation is secure. Okay, so what does it actually mean to be willing at heart? Basically, it's the natural byproduct of a good relationship with the divine. When you have a restored connection with God, all those heavy, dragging obligations are replaced with genuine inner motivation. You aren't just dragging yourself through your daily tasks because of guilt or fear or feeling like you have to. Instead, you're moving forward with a truly willing heart. This restored relationship gives you a profound peace, and that peace becomes the absolute engine for everything else you do. Now, right alongside that is this beautiful idea of being joyful at heart. True happiness, it definitely doesn't come from just checking off a massive to-do list while you isolate yourself in a room somewhere. It comes from cultivating healthy, empathetic connections, both with yourself and with the people around you. When you're in a good relationship with yourself, you are joyful at heart. And when you have a healthy relationship with others, you are united in heart. It's amazing how natural unity and joy just start to flow when we stop fighting through all our tasks completely alone and we actually start connecting with the people right beside us. Let's look at the stark difference here. If you are relying entirely on just using your mind to coldly, logically solve problems all day, your stress is inevitably going to spike. It is just an exhausting way to live. But contrast that with intentionally investing your heart in relationships. When you do that, life just flows. You work with actual motivation, joy, and unity. On the flip side, when relationships are strained or poor, you feel totally unwilling, unhappy, and disconnected. And suddenly, even the simplest little daily task feels like you're trying to move a mountain. Picture this for a second. Imagine a doctor who is absolutely brilliant at diagnosing and treating a disease, but they have zero bedside manner. None. They focus purely on the illness, and they completely ignore the actual breathing human being sitting right there on the exam table. Sure, they might successfully cure the physical illness, but they end up totally wounding the patient's heart in the process. We do the exact same thing when we use cold systems and pure efficiency to handle our daily conflicts. We might solve the surface level issue, but if we ignore the person, we break the relationship. The human cost of choosing efficiency over empathy is just way too high. Actually, this brings us to a really beautiful piece of scriptural evidence. Romans chapter 3 reminds us that God's approach is fundamentally different from our modern, hyper-efficient ways. God doesn't deal with our mistakes using a judgment-first principle. No, he operates strictly on the principle of restoration first. He sees all our flaws, our brokenness, our mess, but Jesus paid the price for us, not by just coldly fixing a legal loophole, but by prioritizing the restoration of our actual relationship with him. People are always, always more important than mere tasks. So you might be wondering, if relationship building is clearly so important, why do we constantly get this backward? Why is our default always problem solving? Well, it's a very real modern struggle. Building relationships takes serious time. It takes companionship, prayer, and an immense amount of patience. Solving problems, on the other hand, That feels fast. It's highly efficient. It gives us visible, immediate results. We are just so drawn to the allure of a quick fix, right? We want that quantifiable outcome right this second. So we end up avoiding the heavier price of patient connection. But here's the gentle reminder we all really need to hear today. Fast does not automatically mean right. When we abandon relationships just to chase after quick results, we actually end up creating so much more work for ourselves in the long run. Think about the last time you rushed to fix a problem, but you ended up hurting a friend or a coworker in the process. You probably had to spend 10 times as much energy later on just trying to repair that broken trust. Doing it the right way, putting the relationship first, yeah, it might feel slower in the moment, but doing what is right will ultimately be faster and so much more lasting. Let's look at another powerful scripture here, Matthew 28:19. This really highlights that God's ultimate design isn't about building these perfect, flawless systems or rigid institutions. It's entirely about building up people. Make disciples. When we get back to God's heart, we realize that the person has to come first, then the relationship, and only then the ministry or the task. When that order is right, the ministry is going to naturally bear fruit. The focus has to stay squarely on the human heart. And that very shift in focus, that's what brings us to true revival. You see, revival isn't some distant, abstract theological concept floating up in the clouds. It happens in a highly practical, everyday terms. It is the natural transformation, the literal breathe-in of new life that happens in our homes, our churches, and our communities when we finally decide to shift our focus away from our endless to-do lists and put it back onto the living, breathing people right in front of us. When we care for people first, lives are transformed, and genuine revival begins. All right, so how do we actually do this in the real world? We aren't just going to leave you with theory today. Let's walk through 3 simple, concrete daily exercises that are designed to help us shift away from that burnout, problem-solving mindset and step right into a life-giving, relationship-building lifestyle. Let's go through these together so you can start applying them to your life literally right now. First up, exercise number 1, intentionally put people before tasks today. In every single little thing you do, gently remind yourself to care for the person first and handle the task second. The way you practice this is super simple. When you sit down to work on a shared project with a coworker today, or even when you're just tackling a household chore with a family member, take just a brief moment to understand how they are feeling before jumping straight into the work. Connect with the human being before you ever connect with the task. Exercise number 2 is a lifesaver for those moments of friction. Whenever a conflict pops up or a problem presents itself, do not rush to handle the surface issue. Just pause. Take a deep breath and first ask yourself, wait, how is my relationship with this person right now? Check the health of that connection. Because if the connection is broken, trying to force a solution is just going to cause more damage. Restore the relationship first, and you'll find that the actual problem becomes incredibly easy to solve together. And finally, exercise number 3, intentionally choose slower but more right. This means completely refusing the intense modern pressure of instant results. Be willing to spend the actual time it takes to build a real relationship. So today I want you to pick just one task where you can intentionally slow down. Prioritize spending a few extra minutes checking in on a coworker or just really listening to your spouse rather than rushing to cross another item off your list. Slower, at least in the economy of relationships, is almost always more right. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this absolute truth that puts everything into perspective. You can be the most highly efficient person on the planet, yet have absolutely no real effectiveness if you don't have relationships. The greatest, most lasting investment you can possibly make in this life is not in your tasks. Your tasks are going to pass away. But relationships, the people you love, the hearts you connect with along the way, they will remain. So I'll leave you with this thought-provoking question to chew on. What relationship will you prioritize over a problem today? Think about it. Who in your life needs your true connection right now way more than they need your quick solutions? Take a moment today to really reflect on that, and then take action. May we all learn to gently reorder our priorities and welcome the true revival that comes from God. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. May God bless you.